Hello and good afternoon, and welcome to Noonday Meditation and Contemplative Prayer Power Hour. My name is Martin Coward, and we have been gathering in this virtual sanctuary for over a year now, primarily to love and support each other through the pandemic. And now that we've come to at least an end in sight of the pandemic, we can now focus on who we are today to begin to build a new world from that, a new world of prosperity and abundance and connection, and that's fun and exciting, and a place where everybody gets to benefit from all the beauty of this world and life itself. And we've been celebrating for the month of April gay, bi, and transgender men, extraordinary gay, bi, transgender men, doing ordinary things that inspire us. And I'm so excited today to have our guest as TJ Chernick. He is the director of the NGLCC New York chapter. And he has got his pulse on exactly what's going on within the LGBT business community. And he's got a lot of passion for wanting to build that community so that we can build and grow our businesses and we can dance and enjoy life in prosperity like everybody else, because we deserve it as much as anyone does. And sometimes we gay people don't think we do for some reason, because we have this sort of deep-seated belief that we're not quite good enough as straight people. But guess what? That's just a lie. It's not true. We deserve it just like everybody else does. And we do that. We get there by coming together in community to love and support each other and help each other build our businesses. And I see some people are saying hello. Thank you so much. Do me a favor, if it's coming up Facebook user, you can click on a little link that goes to StreamYard and allows it to post your name, because I don't know who you are if you don't put that in there. And thank you again for being here, whoever Facebook user is. Again, there's a little link above here. It's somewhere in the text. It says click here and give StreamYard permission, to give Facebook permission to share your name, and it'll do so. I'm glad you're here from Ireland too. I love that we have an international audience.
Yeah.
TJ, just because you're new to this, we'll get people popping in and saying hello. And even if they don't know their name, it's great that they're here. It's great that you're here. That's why we're here, because we want an audience. We want people to talk to us and listen to us, and share what we got going on here. So I'm getting ready to end. Who we got here? Oh, there's my good friend, Michael Manley. Hey, Mike, how are you doing? Great to see you. Glad you could join us today. And before I turn it over to Mike, I just want to say, continue to do that. Always put your name in. If you got some comments or questions, put them into the chat. We'll stop and we'll answer them for you. But I'm going to just let go of the reins here and turn this over to TJ. He's a great storyteller. He's a beautiful man with a huge heart. I just love him. I'm so excited to have him here today to share what's going on in the business community of the LGBT community. So TJ, tell us how you got here and what we all need to know right now.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited and open-minded to this. So, I was actually just pondering what my story, where to start the story. So since I represent and support the LGBT business community of New York City and State through NGLCC New York, which is the New York chapter of the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce, I thought I would just take it back from the beginning, because I never thought I would be in a space like this. So I'll take it back to the beginning. So I'm from Texas originally, from a small town in Texas called Amarillo, which you would only know if you listen to country music. So it's in the northern part, small town, and I'm sure you do listen to country music. But that is where I grew up, and I grew up only child, and had wonderful parents, and spent my young adult life in a conservative town. I went to college in Austin. I grew up a musician, and I always thought I was actually a cellist. I started playing the cello when I was 3, and I thought, since it's about transformation, I actually thought as I grew up I was going to become a cellist, a professional cellist, and I prepared my entire childhood to go into conservatory and be a musician, a classically trained musician. I found out in high school that that wasn't for me. After spending months and months in a practice room for 8 hours a day, I realized for me, it's a miserable way to live. So I decided not to do that. So I went to college. I was applying for colleges. I decided not to do music, and I went for performance, which is how I ended up at St. Edward's University in Austin, Texas, with a performance major. But as doing that, I let go and I transformed and allowed myself to be a performer, because maybe like just being on stage was what I was wanting. I got to theater school and realized I don't particularly like actors. No offense, actors out there. It's not you, it's me, I promise. So I had a great scholarship and everything, and I went to class one day and I was like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this. And that I decided I was just going to let go. And I had a penchant and obsession for languages. So in linguistics. So I decided, you know what? I'm just going to go whole hog and study nothing but languages and linguistics. So I dove in, I had already studied French and Spanish, and I started studying Arabic and a little bit of Hebrew and linguistics. And that's actually how I met my Arabic professor, who he asked, why am I learning Arabic? And I said, just to see where it'll take me. And he said, then I promise it will take you far. And I decided I was doing this. I was in this mode of like facing fears and just jumping into kind of like the abyss. So I decided you know what? I'm going to go study abroad. I'm gonna go learn Arabic in an Arab speaking country, and do that. And I walked into a study abroad office and I was like, I don't know what to do, but I'm really afraid to do this. Can someone help me? And I guess that's the first time I asked for help. But so that's how I ended up studying in Morocco, and where I discovered actually I loved linguistics, but I also loved politics and human rights and society. So I decided, I'm actually going to, instead of doing linguistics, I'm actually going to study renewable energy, because I was like, I want to be able to help the world. So, environmentalism was the way to do it. So I went from there and decided I was going to go study renewable energy and resource economics in Iceland. So I went from Morocco to Iceland. And I promise this all lands at some point. So by the end of my college experience, I decided, what I'm going to do? I'm going to get a PhD, and I'm going to specialize in renewable energy in the Middle East. Started to apply for PhD programs. I was still in Austin at the time. Throughout this, I was actually with I have a partner who I've been with for yesterday was our anniversary, so 17 years. So we were doing long distance, and he had moved to Chicago, and I was looking for PhD programs all over the country. But I had realized that, I really wanted to help people, and human rights was, kind of at the crux of like me wanting to help people. And I found this great job. My partner was in Chicago, and I found this job at DePaul University at their International Human Rights Law Institute. And I throughout it just applied, thinking there was no way they wouldn't want little old me. And I got the job and ended up I put the education aside. I was like, you know what, this is even better. So I started a wonderful, beautiful career in international human rights, mostly focusing on women's educational reform in Iraq. And I got the opportunity to start working on a program that focused on torture testimonial collections for torture victims under Saddam Hussein's regime. So I got to spearhead, after many years, I decided I loved that project so much. And I realized, what? Storytelling is at the heart of everything. What I loved was I loved traveling and hearing stories and like building my experience by reflecting myself off the world, I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get a master's degree in journalism. And through that, I helped spearhead. They took the project, the torture testimonial collection, and applied it towards LGBT torture victims, which my goal was I got the master's degree, and I was going to move to Iraq and start collecting those torture testimonial collections and continue to work on the project. I actually started to do that work in Chicago with refugees. So I had an amazing experience meeting incredible people who had suffered quite tremendously. And there's this serendipity, because I realized really quickly that my heart was a little too sensitive to help people like that. I didn't have the ability to separate myself from other people when it came to like hurt. And I realized that I just don't think I had the the emotional heart space, so to speak, that to help them, and that was okay. And somehow, serendipitously, the war in Iraq ended, and the project was actually terminated, and I was out of a job. So I stumbled back into higher education and became a program officer for International Fulbright Scholars. So, education and storytelling, all these things, they've been culminating and, allowing myself to kind of move forward and transform through trial and error. So at the time, my partner actually got a job in New York City because we were in Chicago, and an amazing job, which we decided 1 year plan. He had 6 months to go to the city to find if he liked the city and the job, and then 6 months to figure out what I was going to do. So he loved it. And then a year to the day, I moved to New York City. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a job because if anybody is in New York right now, it's hard to get a job when you're not in the city. So I moved there without a job. Didn't know anybody except for my partner, just kind of went for it, right? As the theme of the story is, just allowing the world to transform me, I guess. So I was there just a couple weeks in, and my partner said I actually got invited to this thing for the Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce of New York or something. And I was like, oh, cool. He was like, do you want to come? And I was like, I guess. I thought chambers of commerce were just rich, cis, straight, older white men sitting around a mahogany table talking about business and smoking cigars. I had no idea what a chamber of commerce was. So I go to this event, and I stumble across this incredible community of way different than I ever would have thought. This incredible community of people elevating one another, business owners, business leaders, nonprofit leaders, just incredible people shaping the business voice of New York City. And I met 2 executive directors ago, the director, who was also from Texas, and we struck up a conversation. And at the time, he needed a salesperson for membership, and I'd never sold a thing in my life, as the story goes. But I was like, I can do it if you need. So, and I was like, I'll take this job. I'll give it like 6 months, do it part-time, and I'll be out. I'll go find a job like at the UN or something. I don't know what I was thinking, but I fell in love with it, and I got 6 months turned into a year, which became a full-time job, which became a manager to director to the executive director, and so and it's been 7 years now, and I feel so lucky that I've gotten to kind of combine everything I've ever done. The ability to help people tell stories. I didn't know that sales is actually just listening to people and commiserating and connecting with them. And if you have something they need, then they'll take it, and if they don't, then it's okay. At least that's how I rolled with it. But yeah, so I felt really lucky to be a part of the organization. And for those who don't know, so in the New York LGBT Chamber of Commerce, it's the largest business organization in New York State, but represents, it recognizes LGBT-owned businesses, supports LGBT-owned businesses, allied-owned business, corporate partners, nonprofits, students. So NGLCC, should I tell the story of what NGLCC now is, now that I'm here? And okay.
I love it. You're doing great.
Okay.
I do want to go back to something that I really like that you said, and that's about what sales are. We have a lot of entrepreneurs who are listening, and they'll get this too, but often people have the wrong idea about sales. They think that because they had a bad sales experience of someone trying to sell them something they did not need. Mm-hmm. And you just said something that I just want to talk about for a second, and that is sales is really about listening and building relationships with people who will trust you to help them do something that they need. Either help them solve a problem, or it will make their life better. Absolutely. And I just wanted to slow down, because that was what I heard and what you just said and what you discovered, because you were like, I don't know anything about sales. I've never, our mind automatically going to that car lot and having a used car salesman get up and just drive you crazy about showing all the features on some car you're not even interested in. To what you do is just listen and understand where they're coming from to find out, one, what is it they need, and see, is it whatever you have to sell or service you provide, is it going to either help fulfill that need, or is it going to either make their lives better or help them solve a problem? So that's really what sales is all about. It's really about that. It's the art of listening and building trusting relationships with people who want to do business with you. And that's what you're doing, and creating the NGLCC as a community of people, when we have our events on a weekly basis, that's what we come together and do. We come together in relationship to get to know each other, get to see each other, get to know who each other are, what we do, what we love to do, really.
Mm-hmm.
And to see if this person's offering something that could be of some value to us, or I could be of some value to them.
Yeah. No, I felt I totally agree. Hola,
Hey,
Martin. Or hola, Melinda. Hola.
That's Mindy. She's a regular loyal fan on here, and Mindy and I got to meet when I was at Ground Zero as running that food operation after 9/11, and she was one of my regular twice a week. What I'd call a food captain would come in every week, and she would actually hands-on, manage the volunteers. So she's a wonderful person. And
Mindy, thank you for your work. You and Martin both.
Yeah. So back to the NGLCC and how it builds community for building relationships and building business.
Yeah, actually, so I'll break down the organization a little bit. Then I want to talk about that because that's actually super important to me. In my involvement with the chamber, but to break it down for the organization, the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce, focusing from national down to local where I am, the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce is headquartered in Washington, D.C., and it's the sole certifying body for LGBT owned businesses. So in the same way that you can be a certified woman owned, minority owned, veteran, disabled owned business and have access to opportunities for minority owned businesses, NGLCC represents the LGBT aspect of that, called supplier diversity. So they are the only ones that do it, and they do that through a number of ways. So they do legislative work in encouraging cities and states to be inclusive in their contracting opportunities. And they also work with the majority of the Fortune 500 companies to ensure that the contracting is also inclusive. So they do a number of events. They do educational events, connecting opportunities, corporate events, really cool stuff, all with the intention of supporting minority-owned businesses and ensuring that minorities, especially LGBT people in other intersections of LGBT, have the same opportunities as any other cis, white, straight business owner. So that's NGLCC. NGLCC New York, which I am executive director of, is one of 56 affiliate LGBT chambers of commerce around the country. The thing that makes NGLCCNY a little bit different is that we're also a satellite office of NGLCC. So that means that in addition to serving the mission of NGLCC to find, certify, and create opportunities for LGBT-owned businesses, we also have a general Chamber of Commerce constituency of allied-owned businesses, corporate partners, nonprofits, I think I mentioned this earlier, students, all with the intention of serving as the LGBT business voice of New York City and state, and the tri-state, because we have a lot of people, New York's a really big city. But we do our work through monthly mixers, which we do online now. So anybody, even our friend in Ireland, if you're ever interested in connecting with New Yorkers, for business purposes, you can come visit. But we do mixers, educational events, roundtables, corporate activation events to support their LGBT employee resource groups, all kinds of good stuff. But that's who we are as an organization. But to go back to your point about the connecting aspect, I was really lucky. I was inherently adverse to sales. I could feel a pitch coming from 18 miles away when someone was going to sell me something. I could just feel it in the air, and it drove me crazy. And I would shut down the moment I would see it, which is when I was like, I'm going to take the sales job. I don't want to be that guy. But I was really lucky because the person that was the executive director at the time, Derek Brown, he, being from Texas, he also ran a chamber down there, worked for a chamber at the time. But he had this really good sense of community and the idea of bringing people together and really just removing the sales from the table completely. And he really tried to bring a sense of community and connection to the chamber, which was kind of weird at the time in New York, because New York, it is dealing, wheeling and dealing. If you go to a networking event, you're going to give out your business card to everybody there. The more business cards, the better. And as we know,
you had to go work the event, right?
Exactly. And he kind of tried to remove that. And I was lucky he kind of instilled that in me. And he kind of just had the sense either the chamber is the service that you need or you don't. And if you don't, that's fine. And I got to take that. And when he left and the next executive director took over, I got this opportunity to stay on board and continue to grow that and just grow an environment that was more about connecting. So, over the years, I've been involved for 7 years now. I've been the director for 2. But it's been really interesting to to encourage. When you change an environment and a culture of an organization, it takes a long time. And I feel very lucky that I've gotten to like take the time to try to shape a culture for the better. And I think we've done a really good job of actively encouraging that sense of community connection. We actually, when I onboard people, when people come to events, I always tell them to take off their hunter's hat and just come into the room. Just don't worry about it. Don't even get out a business card for your first meeting. Just go there with a sense of like learning people's stories and figure out how you can connect them. And I always say, like, if you're a member of the chamber, you should always have your chamber hat on. And if like you are at home, I'm actually in a closet right now. It's the only time I've been in a closet, I promise. Like, I stopped that when I was 17. But when like if your friend moves into an apartment and their closet is a disaster, like, oh my God, I don't even know what to do with this closet. Your first thought should be, oh my God, Smith Banfield from Clear Space. That's exactly what she does. She's a friend of mine. I should connect you. And that's really like the environment we've learned to grow. And I think it's taken a lot of time. But I think it's done really well. And I think that's what you feel when you come to a chamber event, is that sense of like, oh, I can kind of like let my shoulders down because I'm really just here to connect. I don't need to worry about someone, pitching me a widget. I don't know.
Right. I love what you're saying. And as someone who's come into it, I came in actually a little before you did, before you became the director. You were there, but I don't think you were the executive director when I came in. And it truly is that environment. And one of the things that people often ask me as a coach is, because they get a little nervous about going to networking events and that kind of thing. I say, let me just put something in your head. Go with the intention to be more interested than interesting. Go with the curiosity. I'm going to go and be more interested in what you do than I am making sure that you're interested, that I'm interesting. Because when we go in and we try to be interesting, we end up being boring.
That's so true.
I know I do anyway.
Yeah.
When I work too hard to be interesting, I end up being a bore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not interesting at all. But what happens is, when I'm really truly curious and interested in who they are, why they do it, and what they do, then all of a sudden they get interested in me, because it's like a reciprocal sense of curiosity. And so that's and that is truly, when you say don't put your business card up, I think that you're setting that example to come in and really, you've got a room full of really interesting, creative people. Go in and explore that and have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah. Oh no, I love that so much. That's hey Benjamin.
Hey Benjamin, how you doing? Glad you're here.
No, I love that you said that. That's actually, I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna borrow that. Thank you. No, it's funny because that's something, one of the rules with them I learned. I met this awesome woman when I first moved to New York, and she told me actually that she heard this thing from a guy like named this guy that she couldn't remember, and it was the bagel versus the croissant, which is the act of like when you're in an actual networking event, like you always don't ever form a bagel, always keep a croissant with the shape of the groups, because you always want the groups to be open and welcoming and inclusive. And I loved that, and that's really the sense that I brought, like the idea and kind of energy I brought to the chamber. And that's actually something I say at every single networking event, no matter what. It's just to encourage people that you have to actively be inclusive. You have to challenge yourself to be inclusive often. And we even have, through that rule, we actually have a team of volunteers who at an event, if they see a circle closed, they will go open it. And they'll go, if someone's standing in a corner, they'll go pull them out of the corner. Hello, user. They'll pull them out of the corner with a sense of like creating that sense of like, go and connect and like be more interested in them, interesting. But funny story, like that woman that told me about that, she's like, I think his name was like Robbie or something. I totally forgot like how I learned it through her. It's just like a saying that I loved. But I learned recently that person, the guy that she was talking about, his name is Robbie Roberts. I can't remember, but he said that in a group that she met him. He actually ended up becoming an author, doing a TED talk on bagels and croissants, wrote a book about it, and actually is a certified, through NGLCC as of like last month, a certified LGBT business enterprise through NGLCC. So it blew my mind, because like that's something I loved so much, and just recently it came cosmically full circle.
I want to just share one thing that I want people to know about. It's not just the community, but also during COVID, one of the things that I found so helpful about is in support of our community was some of the things that you provided, and one of the most important was that educational on the for small business loans, for the PPP loans, and you did that a number of times that were helpful, and they really helped me because I followed the advice I got from those broadcasts, and that's how I got my money. I did exactly what they said to do.
Good.
And why I say that is because going into, for some reason, I had this thought in my head that I didn't qualify. It was like, no, everybody qualifies, and you certainly do, and you just got to go do this, and this. And actually, it was very easy, and I got my money, and it all worked. And it was because I had this great network of people who were really caring about their constituents, which was me being me. I am a certified business, and you really do good work. I mean, it's not just getting together and networking, but you really provide some incredibly good, important information and service and wisdom to our community so we can grow and prosper, and particularly during this very difficult time.
Oh, that makes me really happy. I feel that warms my heart because hey there, Huntley, Virginia. That makes me really happy because, I really loved the work I did in human rights, and I was very much like a bleeding hearts wanting to help people person. And I never thought I would be in a space where how does helping entrepreneurs help the world? And when it's that very opportunity. I love getting to create opportunities for people in need to have answers and connections. So that it does make me feel really happy that you were there, and I did see you on those webinars, and I'm glad you got something out of it.
It's like once you get to know what entrepreneurs are, it's like our idea of them changes the way it does about salespeople. Because we're rare, we're very rare. We're a very rare breed, and because we're the ones willing that we have a calling inside ourselves that we want to bring some unique gift that we have, that we have to offer to the betterment of the world, and we will go out of our way and do anything we can to serve.
Oh my God, it's so true, and that's actually the energy I love to surround myself with. I can't emphasize how much I love my work because I get to surround myself with incredible people like you. Entrepreneurs are indeed a rare breed. The people that are brave enough to carve their own kingdom, often to the chagrin of the people closest to them, is incredibly special. And I think one great thing about the chamber is it's the fact that nobody knows the plight of an entrepreneur except for other entrepreneurs. And when you have the opportunity to connect with other entrepreneurs, know that you're not alone, and know that you're not the only LGBTQ business owner that you can because that in itself is a different experience. There's different challenges and the various intersectionalities of that come to the table when you're an entrepreneur. It takes a lot of bravery and yeah.
And something I'll just share with you on that note that I got from one of my coaches recently that really helped me formulate. I've recently narrowed down my niche client, and that's the gay, bi, trans entrepreneur man, because that's who I can serve, and that's who I relate to the most. And what she said to me to get me to understand that was, you're on the right road when you're the only one on it. Because you're the one who's brave enough to go where no one else is willing to go. And serve that population in your unique way. And that's what makes entrepreneurs so unique and so rare. And that's why I love working with them and serving with them the same as you do, because they're willing to have the courage to go that extra mile when everybody else. And there are times when I'm out there because I talk about some pretty weird stuff sometimes, particularly when it comes to scarcity and mindset and all that kind of stuff. But it is. But you've got to have the courage and the ability to go out where no one else is really often willing to go to really make a difference in the world. Because you're really trusting on that inner guide of your unique abilities. And I think that I'll just say one more thing about being. I would call it our queer nature. That's our creativity. And as gay men, we were often told that sort of excitement we feel around sexual energy, that creative energy we have, was wrong. So a lot of us have to go back in and rekindle that fire and say, that's where our power is. That's where our creative genius is. And that's how we connect to ourselves and to the world when we can make a big difference. And so it's just the opposite of what we were told. Like, oh, no, don't touch. And I think that's true for everybody, quite frankly. I don't think because I'm gay and I understand that energy, and that's all it is, it's energy, then I know that that's the creative genius we all need to tap into and feel that in order to really be creative and connect and make a difference in the world.
Oh, totally. And like the queer entrepreneurial experience in that same regards is so unique, especially in American culture, because in American culture, if you don't have a job and you're not working hard and contributing to society, then you are worthless and you need to step aside. And we also have the shame around our sexuality and queerness. And we bring those together and you're like, oh, I'm going to quit my job and start my own thing and be openly queer. Like that, it boggles the mind.
It's completely the opposite of everything we taught growing up.
Exactly.
It only took me till I was 63 to learn that. The hard way. You know, I had to get this great office and this great as a wealth manager. I think you came to my office. I was on the 44th floor with a view of Park Avenue, and you would have thought I was the most powerful, successful. Well, I was miserable inside because I had imposter syndrome and all those things you just mentioned. You know, I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think I deserved it, and all kinds of stuff. And I was terrified of money. Truthfully, here I was a wealth manager and I was terrified of money. So the whole thing just came tumbling down. Thank God now I use that as experience to be able to go out and do everything you just said. Let everything else go and just go out and be out there serving our community and sharing my story in a way that's authentic and real. And that's what all entrepreneurs do, and what you're doing. And it's great that you're pulling all of us together in this great community of New York. And thank you for all that you do. And we're half after the hour now.
Okay.
Which means it's time for us to meditate. But I'm so pumped up from our conversation, it's going to be hard for me to kind of calm down. But that's okay because I'm vibrating at a high love energy, and I think so. It'll be a good way to get into even higher vibration if we just let ourselves sit in it and feel that energy, feel that vibration. And that's what meditation is. And we're going to do something called centering prayer for the next 20 minutes. This is a show on, it's called a power hour for a reason, because it's in that higher vibration of love and creativity that's beyond the human thinking is where we get our power. And so we take this time to let go of all the beliefs and the opinions we have about ourselves, not being good enough or smart enough or good looking enough or fat enough, or ball enough, whatever's not enough. It's always not enough. We're going to let all that go, and we're going to get in touch with the truth about ourselves, which is we're just pure love, infinite love energy. And we do that through something called centering prayer. And I'm going to start by raising your arms up in the air. And I do that because what raised your arms, you might think it's your muscles, but actually it's your life spirit. And you just obeyed the spirit. You just obeyed that divine energy. But I don't care how strong you are or how developed your muscles, if you didn't have that life spark, they would move. And I just do this as a reminder of just how close the divine we are to the divine. We are the divine. Not me, Martin. Not you, TJ. Not this guy who's in here. But the spark in me that's talking and the spark in you that's listening, that's just how close. And so we're going to just let everything else go, and we're going to fall into that space. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to do some conscious breathing. So now that we're going to just begin to slow things down and really begin to breathe and go from outward thinking and outward looking to inward looking and inward thinking by following the breath. And I'm having to slow down too. I do this for me. I'm doing this with you. Just breathe. Just begin to breathe. And when we think, the back of our tongues vibrate even so slightly. So one way to slow down the thinking is to reverse engineer it and to gently massage the back of the tongue and slow it down, and it will slow down the thinking. And one of the ways to do that is to take the tip of your tongue and gently rest it on the tip, on the roof of your mouth, just behind your front teeth. Slightly part your lips and relax your jaw, and just breathe naturally, and actually begin to feel the breath gently massaging the tongue and slowing things down. So just breathe. And just notice the breath gently massaging the back of your tongue. No effort, just doing what you naturally do. And as you focus inward on the breath coming in through the nose, moving down the throat, gently massaging the back of the tongue, expand the rib cage, expand the heart area. And with the muscles in your belly, pull the breath more deeply into your belly as an anchor. To anchor your spirit into your body, into this moment. So just breathe naturally. In through the nose, down the throat. Massage the tongue. Open the heart space ever so slightly. Expand the belly and find your anchor. We're going to set the timer, and the bell's going to begin to pull us more deeply in. And feel the vibration of the bell. Allow the vibration of the bell to pull you more deeply inside yourself. Less distracted. So now we're going to do what I call three belly breaths to get even more centered. And it's going to look like this. With your belly muscles, pull the breath in through the nose, down the throat, relax the tongue, expand the heart, expand the belly, and anchor that for just a second or two, and then we're going to let it go. You ready? In again, and now just let it go. And as you let the breath go, let every thought, every opinion, every belief, every judgment, every story you have about yourself, this world, about God, everything, just let it go. Consciously let it go. Hold on to nothing. And just breathe and be still and know that I am divine love energy. And just breathe. We're going to do another deep belly breath to let go of anything else that might still be hanging out. So again, with your belly muscles, pull the breath in through the nose, down the throat, relax the tongue, open the heart, really expand the belly, keep lots of space. Hold it as an anchor and just let it all go. And let go of everything else you might be holding on to, especially anything of which you might be feeling ashamed, something you didn't do or you should have done. None of that matters. Let it all go. Allow yourself to fall more gently into yourself, more gently into the loving arms of the Divine Mother, our Creator, who cares and loves about each and every one of us and others so deeply. Knowing you're loved and you're cared for. We're going to do one more belly breath, and then I'm going to be quiet, and you're going to hear some interval bells that are going to wake us up from our sleeping, or our thinking, or our stories, or our worrying. And when you hear the bell, you just, and you're just going to let them go, and you're going to fall back into that stillness of, I don't know, the stillness of infinite love. One more breath in. Breathe it in. Open your heart. Massage the tongue. Pull it deep into your belly. Oh, and just let everything go and allow yourself to just fall back into yourself, into your being. And be still and know I am infinite love energy. There's the sweet sound of that wake up bell I was telling you about. To wake us up from our thinking, our planning, our worrying, our sleeping. And the invitation is just to greet that brilliant mind of yours with gratitude for all its brilliance and all its thinking, and just let it go. And gently fall back into that stillness of infinite creative love that we are. Oh, there's that sweet wake up bell. Once again, to wake us up from our thinking, our stories, our planning, our plotting, our worries, maybe even our sleeping. And again, just let everything go and gently fall back into that timeless, effortless being of infinite love energy. And there's our final bell to bring us back into the space, back into this material world. Back into the here and now, TJ. Rested, confident, full of life. Maybe because I want to take a nap after I meditate.
Right. Nice and
about
centering.
it is, I really do enjoy going. I know, I'll tell you something about meditation. It's hard for a lot of people because that's the last thing our egos wants to do is to be quiet. It wants to run the show. And the easiest way to take back the reins from the ego to the heart is meditation. That's why I call it a power. That's where our power is not in our brain. Our power is in our heart. That's why I call it heart space. And that's where our power is. And that's why we do this, is to get our power back, to reset the agenda, if you will, so that we can spend the rest of our day on the path from the heart of service to others as entrepreneurs in the world. And that's the intention. And sometimes the last thing, I know for me, for years, I wake up in the morning, my ego's got its own agenda. It wants to do this, it wants to do that, it wants to make money, it wants to do this, and that's usually a disaster. And I learned the hard way. So I call that deeper part of me. I call her Joy the Wise Woman. And when I let Joy the Wise Woman run the day, we have a much better, much more productive day, and we're in a lot more service to the world. And actually, I'm happier. So and that's the purpose. So I want to let you share with the world a little bit about how people can get to know you and how people can get to know the chamber. And I can tell you, because I know a lot of allies who come to the chamber, and you don't have to be gay, you don't have to be any of our many alphabet city numbers. You can be plain on a wonderful ally, and you're welcome. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how to get in touch with the chamber, how to get in touch with you if they like to, and give us some of that sort of information.
Yeah, so if you're interested in getting involved with the New York chapter of NGLCC, just go to nglccNY.org. If you're interested in getting certified, if you're an LGBT-owned business and you own 51% or more of your company and you want to be a certified LGBT-owned business, visit nglcc.org for more information on that. And most importantly, for either one of those, because I actually manage the certification process for New York City and state, you can reach out to me directly at tj@nglccny.org. It's a lot of initials, but tj@nglccny.org.
Oh, that's great, TJ. And as a certified business, I'll tell you, it's well worth the effort. It's not all that much effort, really. It's just applying more than
if you can file your taxes, I promise it's much easier than that.
It is not that difficult, and it's well worth it, and it's great. And you get a great little logo that you can put on all your stationery that shows that you're a part of the chamber, and it's just a great thing to be a part of. So I want to thank you so much for joining me. It was such a pleasure. Not only I just look to you for your help and your guidance as the director of the chamber, but I also consider you a dear friend and your husband and your partner. And it's just a really joy to have you here today to share this space with me and talk about your story and what you do and what all you're doing to make a difference, make the world better for all of us. And I appreciate that. So hang on for 1 second. I'm going to close this out, and we'll stick around backstage for a second.
Okay.
But, and that's how you get in touch with the NGLCC. And as many of you know, I am a spiritual teacher and a prosperity and mindset coach, working largely with gay, bi, and trans men entrepreneurs. And I have created a new Facebook group specifically for us to work on our internal conflicts to keep us from being our living to our fullest self. And that's called Financial Heart Space for Gay, Transgender, and Bisexual Men. And if that's you, please join us. We'd love to have you in that group. I also have another group that's for everybody. It's called the Financial Mystics Sanctuary. And you're welcome to join me there for this and for other teachings. I'm actually going to do a workshop in a couple of weeks on how to use the contemplative practice to solve every single problem you've ever had. And it's very simple and very easy to follow. And it follows under the principle that Einstein says you cannot solve a problem with the same thinking that created the problem. You have to raise that thinking up to a higher level of consciousness that includes the heart space. And when you do that, there's not a problem that you cannot solve, because every single problem is rooted by the solution. The solution creates the problem from the ego to grow the soul. And when you realize that every problem is a challenge is an opportunity to expand your soul, everything changes. And you actually kind of look forward to problems, because now you got something fun to do. So that's going to be offered in my Financial Mystic Sanctuary Facebook group. So either one, please join us over there, and love to support you and your journey in any way I possibly can. And again, TJ, thank you so much for being here with me today. And
thank you for having me.
Being part of this to me, you really made my day and made my weekend, and I'm excited about that. So again, thank you for joining us, and may love and prosperity prevail. Thank you.